Welcome in to the All Utah Hockey Podcast, a special post-game edition. Easy listening with Petey and Craig. The Utah Hockey Club drops another one. What's that, Craig?
I feel like we should write an actual blues song for this team.
Yeah, we might have to get the way things are going. We might need that, Craig. Well, the Utah Hockey Club dropped another one, this time in Boston, 1-0. And usually, Craig, what we used to do, you didn't get to see the start of our post-game shows. What we used to do is our former host, Leah, would give the 60-second wrap-up where she would say, this person scored at this time, and then kind of went through it quick. It'll be 10 seconds. Elias Lindholm scored halfway through the second period on the power play, 1-0. There's your scoring. That's it. That's the wrap-up. That's the post-game show. Craig, this one... initial thoughts without Vejmelka, this one gets out of hand in the first period. Yeah. I don't know if this team was ready to play. And we talked about that going to the East Coast, being ready to play. Initial thoughts of the 1-0 loss in Boston.
This is going to be more of an overarching thing. I need to get this off my chest, Petey. And I want to make this very clear when I say what I'm about to say, that progress is not always linear. Sometimes teams take small steps backward in the course of development and building sustainable success. That said, this is the first time that I have watched this team in the Bill Armstrong, Andre Tourigny era where I feel like they are not making progress. When we watched this team last season, it just felt like on most nights they had more jump, more energy. There were times when the Nick Bjugstad, Lawson Crouse, Matias Maccelli line was the best line on the ice. There were times when Clayton Keller and Nick Schmaltz were just outright electric with that high cycle. There were times when they were getting contributions from other parts of their lineup. This team looks lifeless, Petey. No spark. They're playing slow. They don't look confident. That's really troubling to me. I tweeted this, but after starting 3-0, the Utah Hockey Club is 4-9-3. 2 of those wins came in OT, and they have 33 goals in those 16 games, which even I can do, and I'm not a math whiz. That's barely over 2 goals a game. This is troubling. They need to find something to solve this really quickly.
Yeah, and it's hard. And we talked about Karel Vejmelka, one of the bright spots in today's game, by the way. He makes 30 saves in a 31-shot performance by the Boston Bruins. 15 of those in the first period alone. And I will say this about Karel Vejmelka. He's a guy that I've been very critical of over the last several seasons on his movement and sliding around and him in lack of consistency. He's been really good this year. And today, I thought he was in the blue paint. I thought he was square. I thought he was calm. I thought he was confident. I think it's the best hockey he's played. The good news for Utah is that he's playing right now that well with Connor Ingram on the shelf for the short term. The bad news is a player like Karel Vejmelka, as this team continues to slide in less chances of being a playoff team. Well, no chances of being a playoff team. This is a piece that might be a valuable piece come the trade deadline. I hate to talk about it now, Craig, but if Karel Vejmelka can continue to play like this, people are going to want him because there's teams out there that need help between the pipes. He was great tonight.
Yeah, there has been talk at the past couple deadlines, honestly, about Karel Vejmelka, but I don't think he was in a place that he's in right now. And we'll see if he sustains this, right? But there are a couple things here. Karel Vejmelka's in a contract year, so you're getting a guy on an expiring contract. Maybe you're not committing to anything beyond this. So maybe there will be more interest. Again, he's got to sustain this level of success. We've seen this in short bursts from Karel Vejmelka, but he hasn't been able to do it consistently. That said, the other side of the contract year is he knows it. He's playing for a contract right now. So maybe that will be the inspiration he needs. And if it's all said and done and they don't get the sort of offer that they're looking for, and goalies I'll be honest, don't often attract high draft picks. It doesn't happen that often on the trade market. There's no reason that Utah can't sign him to a short-term extension. When you
Right.
look at their system, listen, they called up Jackson Stauber. Do either of us believe that Jackson Stauber is a part of their future in the goal? No, he's not.
No.
Neither is Matt Villalta down in Tucson. The future of their goaltending is the three prospects that they drafted in 2023, Michael Hrabal, Melker Thielen, and Carson Musser, and none of those guys is close to ready for the NHL. So maybe you bring back Vejmelka on a short-term deal.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. I think watching him a year ago, I said trade him because I thought the value was never going to be higher for him. It's higher now, like it is. But to your point, somebody's got to play. Like somebody's got to play between the pipes, and this team needs a goalie for right now. And we've said this all along. And this is no knock on either Connor Ingram or Karel Vejmelka. When this team is ready to win and be a perennial playoff team, probably won't be with Ingram and Vejmelka, because I think the future is still a few years off. And I think some of the names you mentioned, maybe by then, when we're talking 3, 4, 5 years from now, maybe it's one of those guys. But I want to see Jackson Corrigan in the chat said Veggie had no help. And it was true. In the first period, it was nothing. There was rebounds, close shot attempts, and this team cannot score. Craig, I'm going to give you a stat because I looked it up. I don't know if you looked it up, but you were talking about it. We were talking about it during the game. This is the 5th time this team has been shut out in 19 games. Okay.
That's not good.
5.
Right?
So let it sink in. Let it sink in. 5 times in 19 games. So I know this is a different franchise, but the previous iteration in Arizona, do you know how long or how far you had to go back to get 5 shutouts? It's interesting. Do you have any idea?
No, please. I know you're doing the research. Look at you doing research, by the way.
Yeah. Two complete seasons. So they've been shut out 5 out of the first 19 this year. They were shut out 5 of the last 164 games. 164 games to get 5 shutouts. Buddy, that's 2 complete seasons for 5 shutouts. This team is so offensively challenged right now. And I'll go even farther, Craig. There wasn't through the first 30 minutes, there wasn't one like you and I could have played goal for Boston for the first 30 minutes. There was nothing close to getting to the interior. There was nothing close that you would even consider a scoring chance through the first 30 minutes.
Let me quantify that as well for what it's worth. Natural Stat Trick had the Utah Hockey Club with 3 high danger scoring chances in this game. 3.
What? 3?
So, combine that with, and I know we're going to talk about this as well, 7 Boston power plays in this game. How do you help an anemic offense? Boston entered the game 30th in goals per game in a 32-team league with 2.4 goals per game. So how do you help an anemic team get back on track? Well, you parade to the penalty box. You don't generate any kind of offense for yourself. That's how. They scored 1 goal. Boston scored 1 goal in this game, and they won because you couldn't stay out of the box and you couldn't generate jack squat.
Well, let's speaking of numbers, it's time. Emma, could you throw up the numbers? And let's take a look at the numbers from tonight's game. Shots on goal, 31-21, actually got respectable as this game went on, only because of the third period. Utah outshot Boston 7-5. Shot attempts actually kind of close, 63-60. Again, it's all because of that third period. Boston came back and battled back and won through the faceoffs, but it's the power play again. Utah power play 0-for-4. Boston 1-for-7. But 1-for-7. They have to stop taking penalties. I don't know how often we can talk about it. And you go back, Craig. This isn't a this season problem. No. This is a continual problem for the team with these players that continually take penalties. So this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th consecutive game where they've given up a goal while they were in the penalty box. 5 straight games where they've given up a goal. They are first in the league in penalty minutes per game. They will continue to be that easily. They're starting to run away with that. They also, with the 2 fights by Bortuzzo, which actually at least broke up the game. It was almost like an intermission, like when you go to the like the opera. I've never been, but I've heard about it. Like it was almost like the Bortuzzo Catholic fights were almost like an intermission. It's like, okay, there wasn't very exciting hockey for 20 minutes. Let's have a fight. At least that'll be exciting. Then let's play hockey for another boring 20 minutes. And let's have another fight. So with those 2 fights, Utah is now have 11 fighting majors, which leads the National Hockey League.
Ho-hum. So what, right? So what?
Yeah. So what? Again, they lead it in fighting majors. They lead it. Their face-offs is near the top. But again, does it matter? Like, it's at some point now, with the St. Louis win, Nashville Predators are going to catch them next. Beware. If this road trip goes poorly, guess who they're going to be signing side by side with in the Central Division? The Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah.
It's coming.
And I've wondered too, like we don't know how long Connor Ingram's going to be out. Granted, Connor Ingram just hadn't been the same guy that we saw the past season and a half. But if you have to ride Karel Vejmelka, or if you think about trading Karel Vejmelka, how is that going to be received in Utah in year 4 of the rebuild? We've heard Bill Armstrong saying you got to be patient, but he has also said we're coming out of the rebuild. So is just bottoming out in season 4 of the rebuild acceptable anymore? And again, I know, you and I have talked a lot about the guys that are out of this lineup. Two very important defensemen in John Marino and Sean Durzi. Correct. But I want to make the point that John Marino has never played a game for this franchise, which I know some of y'all don't think has a history, but sorry, it has a history because this same group was in Arizona last year. John Marino's never played a game for him, so we don't know what he can add. The only guy missing from this lineup is Sean Durzi. Are you going to tell me that Sean Durzi is the difference between what we were seeing last season up until February and what we're seeing now? I don't buy it. There's a lot more guys that have to be accountable. There are a lot of guys not performing right now. Steve Peters. Wow, I almost called you Scotty. I don't know where that came from.
That's okay. I answer to about anything. But last time you called me Patty, so I'm good. Scotty's way better than Patty. But here's the issue, because as a coaching staff, you can look at this, and there is no doubt you are talking about. We're talking Keller, Schmaltz, Crouse, who else? Maccelli. I thought Carconi played less than. Didn't play with the effort he usually plays with. Bugstead didn't. I mean, it's go up and down the forward roster, and you're seeing it everywhere. So what can you do? If you're a coach, there is one tool, and you can ask every single coach in the National Hockey League what their tool is. It's ice time. That's it. That's all a coach can control is a player's ice time. And if a player doesn't, hey, they're going to lose hockey games. Everybody's fine with losing hockey games. I don't want to say fine. They're going to lose. They are. Yeah. Bill Armstrong came and said this team is not ready for the playoffs. They're going to lose hockey games. You can lose hockey games. You can. But when you don't have the effort, where you're not competing, like if this is a 1-0 loss and Korpisalo makes 25, 30 saves, 10 grade A's, you go, okay. I will say this. They rang a couple off the post late. Mavlon with a really good chance, but this team didn't produce offense. They didn't look like a team that is competing to try to score on the power play. Power play looked more disjointed than it's looked in weeks. It didn't look better. It looked disjointed. And 5-on-5, like there is just no, get in on the forecheck, put their defenseman through to section J behind the glass, dig the puck out and get it to the net. Like there just wasn't that scrum around the net. There wasn't pucks to the net. There wasn't that urgency to create that offense. I didn't see it. I didn't see that dog on a bone the mentality that you need to get on the puck when you're really struggling for offense. So if you're looking at this film as a coaching staff, after this game is over, you have to change something up. And they've changed the lines. They've tried that now for the last several games. Change the line. It's time to change the lineup. I'm surprised that Liam O'Brien has not been in the lineup recently, because at least he's going to bring a spark and he's going to hit somebody, and he's going to get things going. I know Crouse tried to get things going today with Zadorov, but you're going to have to at some point shake it up. You know what? Maybe it's time to call Yamamoto or Doan up. I guess Yamamoto's got a clear waiver, so it's Doan. Try something, because right now losing is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the effort.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you first off on Liam O'Brien. I'd be shocked not to see Liam O'Brien enter the lineup at some point very soon. But I also wonder about Tucson. I'm not, I don't think it's going to be Yamamoto. And honestly, I don't
Yeah, I
want to
don't think it
see
is either.
Josh Doan. I don't want to see Josh Doan in a situation where he's up, down, up, down. That doesn't help your development. But how about, you talked about that dog on a bone mentality, and I'm not saying he's going to add a lot of offense to this team, but he's going to add grit. Maybe you give a guy like Ben McCartney that some look up here, because you know the style he brings. He's hungry. He hasn't been here in a while. I don't know, that type of player at least. You need something. You need some kind of spark, because again, this team looks lifeless right now, and that's unacceptable. That's just unacceptable.
Preston Patterson said, more penalty minutes than shots. That is not a good statistic. And right after this break, we're going to get back to breaking down more of this game and some of the things that Craig and I suggest that might be able to help this team. And that'll be in just a minute. But first, I'm going to talk about FOCO. FOCO is a leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise with a product line that includes apparel, accessories, toys, collectibles, novelty items, and so much more. Best officially licensed gear for all sports and all fandoms. Going to a basketball or hockey game? Show off your love with team-branded gear. Whether it's hoodies, jackets, beachwear, or overalls, there's something for the fans of almost every occasion. Whether it's the Utah Jazz, by the way, the music kind of goes along with that Utah Jazz, Craig. Kind of groove into the Utah Jazz or the Utah Utes. FOCO has you covered. FOCO always has our back for sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around by visiting FOCO.com and using the code ALLCITY10. For all non-presale items, use the promo code ALLCITY10 for 10% off. Then use our Rugged Road friends. Rugged Road is dedicated to creating innovative and durable outdoor gear for adventurers who demand the best. Rugged Road gear is built to accompany you on every adventure. Rugged Road coolers and their ability to float upright so you never lose a drink. Rugged Road coolers are incredibly light, making them easy to transport on any trip without compromising on performance. Perfect for a variety of outdoor activities, from fishing and tubing to camping and tailgating. These coolers are designed to meet the needs of every outdoor sports enthusiast. So gear up for your next adventure with Rugged Road coolers. Reliable, durable, and built to be used. Rugged Road is your ultimate outdoor companion. Head to ruggedroadoutdoors.com and use the code ALLCITY for 10% off. Craig, I got to go back to one of the comments here, and I can't read. Riff 5 Fickle, RIF. I don't know. As someone at the game, actually was in the game at Boston, it was clear whatever defensive system is in place, it isn't working with the players currently available. And that includes keeping puck possession in the neutral and the offensive zone. We've talked about the defensive zone system for a long time. And I've always had questions about how they do that. But when he's talking about the neutral zone and the offensive zone, I thought tonight it was really clear they couldn't get their way through there. And that they had so many turnovers outside of their own blue line, even when they got the puck in the offensive zone. And it's those lateral plays trying to push pucks east to west, and you turn it over. So I've said it before, and I'm going to keep beating this drum until they score a goal. When you get over the blue line, the mentality is you might need to make one or two passes. You might. Or you got to dump the puck in and go get it. But when you get the puck anywhere from the blue line to the top of the circle, it has to, without exception, has to go to the net. It has to get to the net. This team is not generating any second chance opportunities, no tips, no screens, no rebounds, nothing around the blue paint, in the crease, in the house. And the only way you do that is throwing the puck there. And this team isn't doing that.
Yeah, I think about like these scant opportunities they had. You mentioned the Mavlam shot off the post. Nick Schmaltz had a backhand, but it wasn't really a great chance. It was just in tight. Schmaltz had a backdoor one-timer on a late power play, and he just whiffed. I mean, that's the chance that you want. It went right across the crease, right across the slot, the Royal Road, as they call it. You've got the goalie moving. You've got an open net, and he whiffs. He still has 0 goals this season. And I don't want to single out Nick Schmaltz, although Nick Schmaltz needs to score goals. But that's the kind of opportunity you're looking for. And man, they just didn't generate anything. They couldn't generate anything in this game.
But we talked about that's now 19 games without a goal. Is it 19 or is it 18, Craig? I can't even keep track anymore. But the point is, he had not only had that shot, that's an empty net. Like that's an empty net. That was 19 games, no goals for Nick Schmaltz. Empty net. And then later in the third period, in the high slot, again, fumbles off his stick. I know he knows that he hasn't scored a goal. I know he knows that. Like, of course he does. He is grabbing his stick so tight right now that he's trying so hard that it's almost working against him. And I do believe Nick Schmaltz is the goal scorer. Like at heart, that's what he's here for. That's what you pay him for. I do believe that once he gets one, he'll get 10, but he's got to get that one. Like it's a quarter of the way through the season, a quarter of the way through, and he's got 0 goals. And we talked about Crouse last time. Crouse rings one off the post today. I thought he looked better in the last 6 minutes of the game than he has in weeks. I thought it's the first time when you talked about a little bit of grit, a little bit of jam. I think his pushing around with the Zadorov, I think that kind of got him going a little bit. And maybe that's what he needs to do. Maybe Lawson Crouse is going to have to get engaged physically so he can get engaged offensively. Because right now he's another one of those players that we said is kind of checked out of this team. So I think that's frustrating that they're not getting the guys that need to be scoring aren't scoring.
Petey, I want to talk a little history here. And again, I know that officially this is a brand new franchise, but we both know it's not a brand new franchise. It's the Coyotes. This is the Coyotes. They've moved to Utah. It's okay to say that out loud. There's nothing wrong with that. It's obvious for anyone who's paying attention and really acknowledges reality here. Well, this building in particular, TD Garden, has, as we mentioned on the show yesterday, has been a house of horrors for them. This Boston team, I thought there was an opportunity. Even though they made the coaching change, I thought with how much this team is struggling to score goals, how bad Boston has been, you had a chance to finally break a streak, but they did not. So, Emma, I know we have a fancy graphic. Boston Blues, indeed, and that's in keeping with the music we had to start this. This franchise has lost 11 straight games in TD Garden. They haven't won since 2009. That's 15 years, Petey. 15 years. I want to make it clear because you were there. They did get a road win of sorts against the Bruins in Prague, Czech Republic, in 2010, but they haven't won at TD Garden in so long, and they had a chance tonight against a really struggling team. They just couldn't find the back of the net. 11 straight losses at TD Garden.
Yeah, we said this was going to be a tough building to go in and win, and we did. And them going in a day early, got the day of practice, going to Boston thinking, okay, again, this is a team coming off 2 big losses. They outscored 10-4. I really anticipated a push to start the first period. I anticipated puck in deep, physical, get to the net. It's an easy recipe to play on the road. We talk about road hockey. Road hockey is get over the red line, dump the puck in, go get it. That's how you play on the road. Keep it in front of you. Keep it simple. No turnovers. No east-west. Keep the puck in front of you. Play it off the wall. Gain zones. Make it boring. They didn't do that. They made it the Karel Vejmelka show for the first 20 minutes. And it is very, very. We're clubbers till we die, says Craig and Petey deserve our likes more than our offense. Yeah, let's give us a few likes on this and subscribe to our YouTube channel at the All Utah Hockey Podcast YouTube channel so you don't miss all these exciting, fun shows like this. Craig, what do you think about the return to Boston? We talked about Boston. We have a lot of Boston connections here. Keller, McBain, Kerfoot, Kesselring, their return to Boston. Did you think that affected them nerve-wise? Did you expect them to perform better because of their return, or it just more blah?
I don't think you can say it affected them nerve-wise because, we see what Keller does when he goes to St. Louis. We see what a bunch of these guys do when they go to Toronto. They stink in this building, and quite frankly, they just stink lately. This is just not a good hockey team right now. I don't know what you praise tonight other than Karel Vejmelka. What do you praise about this team? Like they were talking about the penalty kill, but the penalty kill was good because the goaltender was good. Otherwise, right. we were talking about this could have been a 4-0, 5-0 game. The way that and Boston didn't have a lot of great shots, but I thought they did generate some things on the power play. Karel just made some big saves, particularly on David Pastrnak. They just don't have anything going right now. Petey, I don't think you think about a shakeup as large as a trade right now because it feels reactionary, and I don't know what you could get out there that could really help this team and as Bill always says, help this team for the future, not just right now. Because again, I don't think it's about the right now for this team. They're not ready. It's pretty clear that they're not ready. But do you think about that sort of shakeup, maybe a minor trade just to send a message to this room right now?
I said this earlier in a show last week that back in the late 90s when I first started working in the National Hockey League, when things were like this, Craig, you saw the GM and there was a trade. Then the salary cap came in and you were no longer had that luxury of trying to make a move like that. I think it would be really hard for Bill Armstrong to make a move right now. I think there's still teams at the quarter pole trying to figure out what they have. If you are, it's going to be a player that's struggling for a different team. I mean, you're going to take struggling player for struggling player. You're not going to get an asset at this point. I think if you're looking at an asset, teams that have an asset that aren't going to make the playoffs are going to wait and hold out to get the best deal for that asset. And that's going to be a team that's competing for a Stanley Cup, which isn't Utah. I don't see there being a minor deal right now. Of course, that means there will be a trade tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. But again, that's where you have your minor league team for. That's where you bring up. I don't Ben McCartney. I don't have a problem with that. And I don't have a problem putting Liam O'Brien in the lineup. I don't know. I think Liam O'Brien's exactly what you need right now. I really do. And I don't mean fight. I'm not saying fight. Craig knows how I feel about fighting. People can jump on me all they want to. And I know people stand up when there's a fight. I don't like fighting in the National Hockey League unless it's for a reason, when you're protecting your teammates or somebody running the goalie. I don't think Liam O'Brien needs to fight. I think the threat of a fight is all you need. And I think Liam O'Brien just needs to run around and skate, because there's too many people that are just not performing. And Spaceman just said, I feel like Hayton needs to be at the front of the net more. I haven't even noticed Hayton playing lately. He's another guy that you'd go early in this season, you go, oh my gosh, he's getting to the net. Remember the goals they scored in the first 3 games? It's because Bane and Hayton were going to the blue paint. They were driving the net. They were tipping goals in. It looked great. And now Barrett Hayton, invisible. Absolutely invisible. Nobody's getting to the net.
2 points in his past 14 games. Remember, we were talking, I sent this text to you earlier. We were talking early in the season. Oh my gosh, is he finally emerging as maybe a top 6 center? What they drafted him to be at number 5 overall in 2018. Whoops, 2 points in his past 14 games. No, I mean, at this point, like barring some unforeseen surge this season, I'm getting pretty confident in saying Barrett Hayton is what he is. He's a bottom 6 center. He's probably a third line center, which is another thing that I wanted to talk to you about, because we already know this franchise's donut hole in the middle. They haven't had a great center since Jeremy Roenick left in 2001. We thought Logan Cooley is going to be a top 6 guy. I still think he's a top 6 guy. I'm a little disappointed with what Logan Cooley's done thus far. I don't think he's playing fast. I don't think he's producing. I know he's got some points, but it's not great production, especially not lately. I still worry a lot about the middle of the ice for this team, because I don't see it in their system and I don't see it on the ice.
Yeah, I am concerned. One of the things, I think Logan Cooley plays best hockey when he's playing fast. And when his feet are moving and they're playing north-south and getting pucks ahead. And honestly, not just him, it's the whole team. They're just Andre Tourigny's style of hockey. We've seen it before. Andre Tourigny wants to play fast. He'll tell you he wants to play fast. And that doesn't mean skating fast. It means getting the puck out of your end and getting it down to the other end of the ice. Whether it's passing, skating, whatever it is, play north, play fast. And this team is doing anything but looking fast. And I'm even talking players like Nick Bjugstad, to me, is a guy that's not fleet of foot, but Nick Bjugstad can play fast because he can move the puck forward and he can get to the net. So I'm really frustrated with the way these things are going. I don't know how you're going to see the best of these players if they're not playing faster and playing, honestly, Craig, playing with that energy and spark. And there's a lot of things in the chat. A lot of people are talking about, what about firing the special teams coach? What about the PK coach? What about culture? That's a coaching. I'm sorry. Like, there are starting to be fingers pointed at the coach. I don't think there's any danger of anybody on the coaching staff at this point in time with this season, where they're at with this team and what their direction is, where they're at in the rebuild. I just don't see that as something that's going to be imminent with this team. At some point, there's going to be pressure from the new ownership group with management and with coaches. They got to win.
That's what
I just don't think it's that.
Yeah, that's what we've talked about. Like, we don't know what that pressure is. That would be a new sort of pressure, right? Instead of just let the process play out, let them build sustainable success through the draft, let them grow slowly. At some point soon, if this team starts to bottom out, like we were talking about, again, Sean Durzee's the only guy that wasn't here last year. If this team starts to bottom out and you say, wow, they're not as good as last season, at some point you're going to point to the coach. And I say that understanding that I have had conversations with Bill Armstrong. He has full faith in Andre Tourigny, and it's not the dreaded vote of confidence. It's, I like the way when we make mistakes, he corrects them, they learn from it. I like his relationship with the players. I like the development with the younger players, but all of that goes out the window if things start to stagnate or even go backwards. Andre has said it himself. Like, when he came in and they were doing the rebuild thing, and it was just his job to build relationships and start developing young players. He said that was the easy part because there are no expectations for us yet. It gets harder when you have expectations. Now, I'm not sure how many expectations this team should have. I think partly they're a victim of national pundits saying this is a playoff team, which, I'll be frank, I laughed at it when I saw that. Like, what national pundit is saying Utah's going to be in the playoffs? Would they be better with those two guys in the lineup? Sure. I never believed this was a playoff team. Neither did Bill Armstrong. So that was just sort of pie in the sky stuff that I think is probably hurting this team a little bit. They're in a new market. You come in and all these national people are saying, hey, you got a playoff team on your hands. That's just not reality. That's not where this team is right now. But you can't go backwards. You can't go backwards because then you will start looking at the coaching staff. And if it's not a head coaching change, maybe you look at sending a message by, hey, you got to replace one of these assistants who maybe isn't producing. Maybe that's the first thing that you do. You make a staff change to send a message that things have to improve here.
It's funny. I can't believe we're 20 games into the Utah season. We're talking about coach. I can't believe it. And I heard it on the Chicago show yesterday. Another team that's going through a rebuild. They're talking about coaches already 20 games in. We'll get more to that on the other side of this. But first, I'm going to go to a super chat. By the way, we clubbing, this is officially the first super chat in the history of the All Utah Hockey Podcast. Thank you, we clubbing. A reference to the hockey club, I'm sure. See how good I am and quick I am at these kind of things. We clubbing, super chat for $4.99. Us clubbers have no issue with you guys bringing up the Coyotes past. Arizona deserves a team, and Vesey deserves some offensive support. Amen. I cannot argue with that. And now, from our friends at Saturday Neon. It was started by two college friends. Saturday Neon makes officially licensed collegiate logo LED neon signs that are perfect for your home, your office, your dorm room, your fan cave, or your bar. Check out their new Essential Collection featuring almost 50 of the biggest schools across the country for only $75. And yes, they do have the Utah Ute theme signs. I've seen them. They're fantastic. Unlike traditional neon, these LED signs won't break or shatter, but still give you that classic uniform glow. They last up to 100,000 hours, so you can enjoy your sign for years to come. Easy to install with provided hardware or with 3M command strips, and they're low voltage. They don't get hot. They're always safe to touch. Perfect gift for this upcoming holiday season. All City has used Saturday Neon to get all of our studio signs in all of our studios across the network, and they are fantastic. Use code ALLCITY for 10% off your order at SaturdayNeon.com. And what chaos, Craig? What chaos? The All City Hockey Podcast hosted by Pete Blackburn and DJ Mean. Make sure you're listening. It's mostly hockey with a little bit of nonsense. Well, it's a lot of nonsense at times. With our good friend Sean DePaz. Interviews with players, coaches, notable personalities in the world of hockey, and appearances from all other All City NHL hosts like Craig and I. We pop on there every once in a while. Oh, and last week, did you see the Small Talk with Pete Blackburn and Alex DeBrincat? It's a must-watch.
It was spectacular.
Very short jokes live 4 times a week at 12 Eastern Time on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Also, make sure to check out their new merchandise collection, which just dropped a partnership with Just Dishin' shirts, hoodies, hats, and accessories. Visit justdishin.com to check it out. Craig, so where do they go from here? And this is the concern. It's to me, I want to give some hope to some Utah fans. We expected losses. I expected losses this year. I really did. And it's the nature of what happens. It ebbs and flows. You go through periods of losses with a young team and a team that's trying to get rebuilt. I understand that. What I want to see in Pittsburgh is a team that's hard to play against. And I think that this team has been way too easy to play against. And what do I mean by that? Is play hard, show some effort, be physical if that's what it needs to be in your game, but you have to try to show through your speed, through your physicality, through your shot, something to show the fan base that you care. And I didn't feel that tonight. Maybe the last 10 minutes, and I know that the coaching staff and management are going to listen to this and say, well, no, I thought I saw that. I thought for the least the first 30 minutes, I didn't see that, Craig. And for it didn't look like a desperate hockey team to me. In fairness, neither did Boston. Boston didn't look desperate either. And that's a team expected to be near the top of the Eastern Conference standings that just got their coach fired. And they didn't have it either. So Utah needs to come out against Pittsburgh on Saturday with fire, brimstone, and some heat, and they have to, or it's going to get worse. Pittsburgh's a better team than Boston right now, and they're not very good either.
And need I remind people that this franchise's success rate in PPG Paints Arena is even lower than it is in TD Garden. They're 1-11 all time there. They've lost 9 straight. So they don't play well in that building either. But man, win or lose, they better come with more fire than they came with tonight. Because that was as our good friend Matty McConnell would say, that was a root canal tonight. That was a root canal to watch.
Well, I didn't know if I've heard that before, but I like it. A big shout out to our friend Ole Mata for his 700th career game. We haven't had a chance to say much about Ole Mata today, and I honestly didn't notice him much. I thought Ian Cole saves a goal in the first period, but on the back end, the best defenseman on the back end tonight is a guy that both you and I have been trying to send down to Tucson for the last 2 weeks, was Maverick Lamoureux. Maverick Lamoureux had 9 shot attempts tonight, Craig. He led the Utah Hockey Club in shot attempts tonight with 9, and one of them rang off the post and was the best scoring chance. Maybe Schmaltz is emptying it, but Mav Lam was the best defenseman today. I thought he defended better tonight. And again, here's people are going to get mad at me, Craig.
I know, but
I saw the shot off the pipe. I saw the shot off the pipe today, and I thought, if he's in Tucson right now, he might have 5 or 6 goals. Like, he might. He's going to play every power play. He's going to be out there in every key situation. Like, this kid's like, you want to see him develop his offensive game. And I don't know if they've ever thought of him as a big offensive threat. I don't think that they have. But I think it's there. I think it's there. But it'd be nice if he could go develop it. We'll have to see.
This is the battle that you face again. Whether are you still forward thinking, or are you now thinking? Like if you talk to Andre Tourigny, he's going to tell you, yeah, I want Mav Lam in because he's one of my best 6 defensemen. But if you're the GM or you're the director of player development, Lee Stempniak, maybe you're thinking something else. Like, we need to think about this kid's long-term plan. But you have to balance that, like we talked about yesterday, with, you don't want this team to bottom out. You don't want to see this team just lose all confidence and drop like among the Blackhawks of the world or the San Jose Sharks of the world. And you don't want, you don't want to get to a point where you're just playing out the string, Petey. And it feels like they're dangerously close. I know that's crazy to say 20 games into the season, but this could go south in a hurry. So I don't know how you do this, and I don't know what the pressures are from ownership to say, hey, we got to win. We got to turn on the fan base a little bit here. We can't be losing this much. Like when the Coyotes came to Arizona all that time ago, they had a really good team. So they were in the playoff picture. This team ain't in the playoff picture, and I don't know how much pressure, I really don't know how much pressure they're facing to at least be competitive, to be around the playoff line, to try and ignite a fan base, create a fan base.
And we're talking about igniting a fan base. Utah Hockey Club, he's part of the Utah Hockey Club club, said, bring in Spicy Tuna. He's a huge hype man. And I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. And do I think Spicy Tuna is the guy? By the way, I don't call him Spicy Tuna. Why did I say that? Like, I shouldn't have said that. Liam O'Brien. Liam O'Brien is not going to bring the offense. This team desperately needs offense, and that's why I think you're continuing to see Michael Carcone in the lineup, because you think he's going to add offense, but he hasn't added offense either. And if he's not going to add offense, you might as well get the sandpaper out there. You might as well try to get something going through physicality. At least maybe it gives your team a spark or a jump. We have to see something, Craig. We have to see something from this team on Saturday. As a fan base, as a media covering the team, you have to see some of that on Saturday. I don't know if they don't. They got 62 games left after Saturday. 62.
Yeah.
Maybe what they need, maybe the city of Utah needs to have another parade like they did when the plane landed the first time, because they came out of the chute in game 1 like a ball of fire. Like, they were fantastic the first few games. They really rejuvenated, but they don't look out. This is gonna be an incredibly long season. Yeah, incredibly long if they don't find a way to turn some of this run. I'm gonna again reiterate. I'm not talking about wins. I'm not. This team isn't as good as other teams in this league, as Winnipeg and Dallas and Vegas and Edmonton. They're not. But they have to compete. You have to be in games. You have to be engaged in games. You have to be around games. You have to be close to games. You got to be competitive in those games. And I remember being in a coach's room, and it was a Dave Tippett mantra. It was a Rick Tocchet mantra. It's be a hard team to play against.
Yep.
Hey, we're out, man, but let's be a hard team to play against tonight. Let's make them earn this one. And I don't know if Utah did that tonight.
Yeah, I would agree. Petey, what do you do with your goaltending situation in this back-to-back coming up? What do you do?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
that was a significant workload for Karel tonight. So you got to think also, like, when we were talking about the back-to-back, if he has a light night against Pittsburgh, maybe you can play him. But you got to take into account the 3 and 4, right? So this game matters in the workload as well, in load management. And he had a fairly heavy workload tonight. So what do you do? I think you have to play Jackson Stauber in one of the next 2 games. If you're the coach, which of those do you pick?
God, it's hard. And this is, you know what, this is going to be a topic on the plane. And again, I'm going to throw this out there. People may or may not want to hear this. I know because I've been there. On the plane, they're sitting there talking about this right now. I'm telling you, Corey Schwab is sitting there with Andre Tourney. The assistant coaches are involved, and they're all throwing out, hey, this guy's played really good against Pittsburgh in his career. Hey, this guy on a back-to-back, we've got to watch it with Karel, because when he plays a lot of games, we lose him for weeks, which is true, Craig. We've seen it. Mm-hmm. When you play him 3, 4, 5 in a row, you can lose him for almost a month because of either injury or he just loses his confidence. This is hard for me. Pittsburgh's going to get a lot of shots. They're a high octane offense, and I know they're struggling, and I know this isn't the Pittsburgh Penguins of 10 years ago, but it's still Crosby and Malkin, and their power play is still efficient. Are you throwing Jackson Stauber in this one, or are you going to throw him into Toronto Maple Leafs? Ooh. Like, one thing about Stauber, he's played in this league. He's played a lot in this league. Chicago, he played a lot of games in the National Hockey League. This isn't not like his first game ever in the National Hockey League. Kid's played. And he's handled pressure situations like this. And really, it's not pressure. This isn't a team. It's not a playoff game. Like, if I had a vote right now, if I'm voting in that coach's room right now, I'm voting for Karel Vejmelka. I start him this game and just see what happens. He's the best. He was the guy that held you in it tonight. I think we have to go into the next game against Pittsburgh and not worry about the next 63. I think you got to go in there worrying about game 20, and game 20 is Pittsburgh, and our best chance to win is Karel Vejmelka, and then we'll worry about Toronto the next day.
Whew.
That would be my vote.
I was thinking the opposite.
When I started the sentence, ironically enough, I was thinking Jackson Stauber first, and then Karel is fresh with 2 days rest playing in Toronto. I was going to start that way, but I'm the opposite. Karel gives you the best chance to win on Saturday against Pittsburgh. You worry about Sunday on Sunday. I think, I don't know if they necessarily need to win, but they need to compete. And I think Karel Vejmelka, like, here's the problem. If you put in Jackson Stauber, guys, and played in the NHL for a little while, he hasn't played yet this season, and he gives up a bad 1 in the first 10 minutes, or they're down 2-0, 12 minutes in, it's over. Like, it's over. You watch the shoulders on the bench drop, and it's going to be, here we go again. And I just don't know, with a fragile group like this, if you can do that. Like, you can go into Toronto, and Jackson Stauber might make 60 saves and win the game. He might, in a game like that, where it's just like, we got no chance here. We're in Toronto. Throw the kid in. That's what we do. But that's how I would approach it. And it'll be interesting to see, and we'll keep track of Belle Fraser and all the things she has to say in the next 48 hours on how Andre Tourney actually approaches this.
Yeah, they play well in Toronto. That's the thing, though. So do you give yourself your best chance to win in a building where historically you have played well? I don't know even know if that matters in the end. Does what has happened in the past factor into your decision right now? Probably not so much, but it's a really tough decision. At any rate, they've got a tough schedule coming up, as we're going to get to in just a minute here.
There is the upcoming schedule. And see, I stalled on that. I didn't know. Craig highlighted. I don't follow along very well. Lost to Boston 1-0. They head to Pittsburgh on Saturday, Toronto on Sunday, and then Montreal on Tuesday. This is still a really tough road trip, and to hit Montreal last.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you know how far away Montreal is from Utah? Buddy, it's a long way. Like, they keep going farther. Like, it's the farthest away of these four cities. So might as well keep going farther away. Oh, I hate that.
Do you know how far Montreal is away from Ottawa by bus, Petey?
I do. I do. It's 2 hours.
Yes, exactly 2 hours. In
I've
lightly falling snow. Yes.
In a snowstorm with a bus driver that's barely awake. Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with that road trip.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk
Look at
about
the
that
end of that week, by the way. Look at the end of that week. Look at that back-to-back.
So how do you come home from a 4-game road trip on the East Coast with that tough travel and then come home and play Edmonton and Vegas on a back-to-back? How in the heck does that happen? Like that, you know how difficult that is? Like this, and then we talk about going south, and you talk about getting a win in Pittsburgh, Greg. This could go south by the end of this month. You could go into December 1st and go, what happened? We're neck and neck with Chicago Blackhawks, two teams that were taking a step forward this year. Two teams that I even said, I didn't say either one to make the playoffs, but I said they would be making a step towards playing important games into January, maybe even to February. I said it for both teams, and they could be out of it by December 1st. Whew, it's frustrating. But okay, this is why we come into this show, Craig. This is why we want people to come in and listen, because you want to get some of this out. You got to cleanse. You got to get this negativity out, because you got to try to stay positive. And the only thing you can do, and you want to stay positive in the locker room, in the coach room, the only thing you can do is worry about tomorrow. And tomorrow, this team is going to have to go. They'll skate tomorrow. For sure, they're going to skate. You're going to have to practice tomorrow after that performance. They'll skate tomorrow. We'll probably look at new lines again tomorrow. I don't know what I have to do to try to get Barrett Hayton back on the top power play. I would put the top power play back together. I think the jumbling up of the power play constantly. I think they were getting looks with Barrett Hayton in front. I'd put Barrett Hayton back in the front of that lineup with Schmaltz and Keller. And I know Guenther's the shooter. I get it. But I would like to see Bukestad or Crouse in that bumper spot. I don't think Guenther's the bumper. And you got to score. You just have to score on the power play. It's, again, you've got to score 5-on-5. You got to score on the power play, and you got to stay in the penalty box. Those are three things that, as a team, you can have some control of the effort in those three areas. And I think that's on the whiteboard, and that's my three keys to the game when I'm on the whiteboard starting tomorrow all the way into Pittsburgh. It's those three things. It's those three things. We got to be more efficient offensively, and we got to stay out of the penalty box on this next game. Have to do it.
Yeah.
Well, Craig, any final thoughts? And the 1-0 loss, I won't even call it a shellacking, because Boston was almost trying to lose the last 5 minutes. Even after the high sticking, we didn't talk about the high sticking called back by Pasternak. I don't know. What do you go with? Pasta or pasta?
Pasta.
Pasternak. Yeah,
Pasternak. Yeah,
Pasternak.
We should get Radim Verbata on to tell us how it's pronounced. Yeah, but anyway, I mean, final thoughts is I think we've summed up everything, Petey. But when I look at the schedule, we were talking about the schedule earlier. I know we had that graphic up yesterday about how much they've struggled at TD Garden and PPG Paints, but if you look at the games, the teams that they're playing, these are arguably the two easiest games of this 6-game stretch.
Yeah.
When you look at the quality of the team. So if you can't go into Pittsburgh and get a win, then you got Toronto, Montreal, Edmonton, and Vegas. It gets really problematic. And listen, it's a league where anybody can beat anybody on a given night. If you come with the right effort, you get some breaks, but it doesn't get easier. They've got to find a way to turn this around quickly, or as we've said multiple times, it could go south hurry, and then we could start introducing the Utah hockey fan base to some of our old traditions, like the Wheel of Fantasy and looking at draft prospects and looking at the system, because at some point soon, when you head this far south, again, the focus becomes the future, because the present, it's not very pleasant to live there.
Yeah, it is funny, Craig. If we start talking about draft picks in December, that is not a good sign. Well, the Coyotes, oh my God, it's the first one of the year.
$1 in the jar, buddy. $1 in the jar.
Buddy, you know how many shows I've done, Craig? 1,000 shows in the last couple of weeks. I've never said that. I apologize to everybody in the chat. I apologize to the organization. I will put $1 in the jar. The Utah, what would make it easier if they named the dang team? So
it really would.
It would help because you can only say, you can't say hockey club because it doesn't sound so Utah, and you can't say the team. So I apologize. I am sincerely sorry. I am sorry. The Utah Hockey Club starts off this road trip with a 1-0 loss in Boston to the Boston Bruins on a goal by Elias Lindholm. And up next, they go into Pittsburgh on Saturday. We will not be doing a live postgame show, but we'll be here next week on Wednesday to wrap up all of the rest of this road trip to let you know how this team is doing. Oh, Craig, I'm actually exhausted. This is an exhausting team to watch at times. Please hit that like button before you go. Get Craig's written content at the All City Network. That's allcitynetwork.com for his upcoming mailbag. The mailbag's coming out this weekend, and I tell you what, with Craig's mailbag, buddy, he works hard on this thing. If you asked it, he will answer it. If he doesn't know it, he will find out, or he'll ask somebody else. So make sure you check out Craig's mailbag. Anything else coming at the allcitynetwork.com, Craig?
Well, I'm going to wait to see how this pans out before I plan features for next week. But there will be, yes, of course, there will be content coming next week on the Utah Hockey Club.
Well, and I will, Joel Pretty, a good friend of the show, Joel Pretty gave me a pass on that, saying it's near my bedtime. He is not wrong. I will be in bed 20 minutes after the show is over. I will guarantee that. Get all of Craig's written contact, allcitynetwork.com. Follow us on Twitter at @all_Utah Hockey. Follow Craig at Craig S. Morgan. Follow me at S. Peters Hockey. Please, please, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, All Utah Hockey, the YouTube channel. Check us out and listen to us wherever your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review. Give us a thumbs up. Tell us how great we are. And we're trying to build a community here with the Utah Hockey Club fan base, and we're going to do it together, whether they win, lose, or draw. We'll be happy, we'll be sad, but let's just all do it together. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next Wednesday at 5. For Craig Morgan, I'm Petey. We'll see you at the rink.
We all silly like the mayor.